Ready when you are, man.
Yours. I
All
thought
right.
you said
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Welcome everybody to the committee meetings for this evening of July 27th. And we're going to have Mike Farrar start off us leading in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I would be honored, Mr. Chairman.
Please do that.
And I have a moment of silence also after the Pledge of Allegiance.
Okay, good.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please be seated.
Okay.
As I used to tell the kids, Mr. Chairman, after the pledge, I would say, please make good decisions today.
Okay. Just like we did a couple weeks ago, right? Okay, first off is finance assessment and insurance. Mike?
Thank you, Chairman Heisen. We'll call the Finance Assessment and Insurance Committee together. Issue number one is establish asset forfeiture escrow account for funds obtained by the forfeiture by the District Attorney's Office.
Somebody gonna talk about it?
Somebody could talk, Mitch, or Mr. Sinkowitz?
So the law allows for the forfeiture of proceeds or instruments of a crime when the individual commits a felony. Typically in Seneca County, that would involve like drug money, money earned from the sale of drugs, or cars used to commit crimes, felony DWIs or other such things. So the statute requires that if we obtain these items, these funds, they have to be deposited in an escrow account that's controlled by the finance department. So essentially, this seeks to set up that fund so we would have a place to deposit these funds. The monies are distributed. There's a formula. A certain percentage goes to the state, of course. A certain percentage goes to the law enforcement agency that participated in the investigation of the crime, and then last on the list is my office. The funds used by law enforcement and my office have to be for a purpose that furthers law enforcement, so they're sort of restricted in how they do. They also can't be expended on things that would normally be budgeted. So offices across the state use these funds to maybe purchase extra cameras or radar guns or home confinement bracelets. We use it primarily for training, possibly purchase equipment like laptops or things like that as they're needed. So that's essentially what the purpose is.
Where's the money being going now?
Well, we didn't really have any in 2020. So 2021.
You had no money or no?
No forfeiture.
No forfeiture.
Yeah. So we do have funds now that need to be placed in the fund in order to be used.
In previously years before 2020?
You just had a checking account, but the legislature amended the law to require this fund.
So if the village of Waterloo helped out in solving a crime, then somebody would cut the village of Waterloo Police Department a check, or it would go to
We would have those.
it would go to the actual village?
The police would have 41% of the funds that are obtained, with less than half.
So there's a formula of who gets what?
Yep.
Okay.
The state gets 32%, the law enforcement agency gets 41%, and my office gets 27%.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Any more questions for Mark? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Number two, workman's compensation budget for years 2022.
Motion?
Is there, I need a motion.
Motion.
Got a first and a second, all right. Mr. Wagner is gonna talk to us about this.
Yes, sir. So according to Article 5, Section 67 of the New York State Workman's Comp Law, I am to put this budget before the Board of Supervisors before August 15th. As you remember, last year I did come with a substantial increase to the budget because over the past 10 plus years it has been underfunded. That actually reflects in the reserve budgets continuously declining. This year it is only a 2.5% overall increase from 2021's budgeted numbers. And since we have actually changed the budget substantially last year, there have been fewer budget adjustments that have come to the board for authorization. We unfortunately have had an increased amount of intakes of claims. Some municipalities have done a great job, some we're going to have to talk. And then we have also increased investigations because the funds have allotted for it, which will also inevitably close certain claims that may or may not have needed to be open in the first place. And there's also a decrease to the administrative fees because we have gotten a new deputy risk manager, as our previous deputy risk manager had retired. Any questions?
Sounds like you're doing good work.
Thank you, sir.
No questions from anybody?
Chris, I'm sorry.
Oh.
This represents an increase of what?
2.5%.
Thank you.
What was it last year? I know it was.
I believe it was 1.6.
It's 1.6.
1.62.
Was it
Yes.
30% increase last year, though? Or something?
It was almost 50%.
1.6 million, right?
Yeah, the percentage though was.
This year it's 2.5. The percentage last year, I believe, was around 50.
So you did say there's some municipalities that you have to reach out to and speak on?
Yeah,
Have you
so,
got a hold of them?
say again?
Have you got a hold of them yet?
Not yet.
That's in the
We're-
plan.
We're reviewing claims with specific municipalities, but we're getting to each municipality to go over a claim review, as well as see if there's anything that we can actually suggest changing in the way they operate. The school districts are the ones that primarily have increased.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some municipalities will be happy this year because their premiums have decreased.
Okay, hearing no more questions, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Hearing
Thank you.
none. Down to number 3, waiver of interest and fees for a property tax matter court's Wonderful Life Museum tax parcel 11-3-74.
Motion?
Hello, everyone.
I need a second first. Hang on, Frank. All right, Cindy's gonna second. All right, go on, Frank.
One to the last time I was here. So what I'm looking for is to try to help out an organization in this county. And just like many nonprofit organizations that rely on donations or admissions to events or continuous exhibits, the Wonderful Life Museum had some hard times and fell behind in their taxes. They fell way behind in their taxes. They were lots and lots of thousands. They have paid all their taxes back, plus interest, and now are completely caught up, paid in full. They are requesting $5,076.65 to be returned to them, which they have paid to the county. So that was the interest that they paid on the taxes they were behind. And so I am recommending that this be done by resolution if the majority of the members of this board agree. And so if anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to try to answer them. I'm not on the board of directors for the Wonderful Life Museum. I don't have anything to do with them. Just here as the treasurer at their request. Michael Miras is, I think, their legal counsel. He's talked to me. I believe Tina Lotz is on the board too. She's talked to me. So those are the 2 board members that I talked to. And so this would be interest. They've already paid the county. We've got their money. We would just be funneling it back to them.
Do you have any connection to George Bailey at all, or?
No, he lost $8,000 and we didn't find it.
Is this the same group that came like last year or a couple of years ago?
Yeah, they came here a number of years ago, Mr. Fran Carcillo, and asked the board to give him $20,000.
Yeah.
And if you remember, that's when the supervisor from Seneca Falls jumped up waving his arms that you can't give money to, you know,
Yeah, I do remember
and that
that.
and this. You're really not giving them money in this case. You are giving back their interest. Yes, it is money, but it's a penalty
Give
you're
anybody
giving them
else their
back.
interest back?
Excuse me?
Do we give anybody else their interest back?
We have done it In fact, just 2 board meetings ago, we did do that. Was that right, Mr. Etman?
That was
Covered
with,
Evans.
Evans.
Evans
that was
Cosmetics.
with Evans.
Evans Cosmetics.
Yes, Evan. That was a mistake, but we have done it for, another, I think we did it for the Coca-Cola bottling plant, when they bought it from the feds. We didn't, we only got the base amount back. We gave them back the interest.
How long ago was that, Frank?
That was a while
Years
ago.
No, it's less.
40 years ago.
About 18 months.
I wasn't
It's within
born.
18 months.
Yeah.
But anyway, this is what they're asking, and it's up to you. Under section 1182 of the real property tax law, only the Board of Supervisors can refund somebody their interest. So you have to decide. There has to be a public hearing. And if all.
I would like to have them come or apply for the grant money, that the monies that we hand out from
Room tax money.
room tax, thank you. I couldn't think of that. I mean, we usually give to them, maybe we could give them the extra, I don't know, I just think we set a precedent here. But I definitely feel they could,
The other
they
thing
would-
is, why don't they go tax exempt?
Excuse me?
Why don't they go tax exempt? Go to Seneca Falls and ask for tax exemption?
No. I don't think they can be tax exempt. They're just a nonprofit.
Yeah, they're not for profit, but they're not eligible as a tax. They can't, in other words, any property they own is still subject to property tax.
They aren't a church.
They're not a church in simplest
I
terms.
say, well, our historical society is tax exempt.
What, does your historical society own the property?
Yeah.
I'm not so sure about that.
Well, it's been doing it. I don't know. I've been doing it.
depends on what town you're in, the law.
That's right.
But the thing is, rather than set a precedent, I totally think that they're a part of tourism, for sure. And if we've only been giving them 5, I'd feel a lot more confident saying, we'll give you 10 grand every year and not do this.
Well, hey, Cindy,
Yeah.
I'm just a messenger.
I get it.
I'm not really going to argue one way or the other. Whatever you'd like to do as the board is up to you. I'm just telling you how much they paid in interest, and they've sent me a letter from their attorney, Mike Miras, asking if they could have the $5,076.65 they paid in interest, that's all. And they did catch up all their taxes, which was an enormous amount of money, believe me.
You're the treasurer, can
In
you,
the tens of thousands, over $25,000.
so you're the treasurer, how much interest do we get off of people that pay back taxes? Just a roundabout figure.
Okay, a roundabout figure, so let's look at it this way. If you owe $10, we get $19, we get 19% interest on that $10.
$2.
19.
So if you owe $100,000, we get 19% interest.
I meant, like, Frank, last year, what did we get in interest?
That, I bet you we probably took in $500,000 in interest.
So if we did that.
Yeah, if the rates-
To convolute the issue, as some of you might know, they are a recipient of a DRI initiative grant, not to be used for day-to-day operations. This is more of a grant for renovations of their buildings type of thing. So if somebody, you know, it's not like they've got an influx of, I think the grant was $660,000, don't quote me on that, but it's not operating revenue type of thing.
But 600,000 to renovate the building?
Yes.
Does that cost for an administration?
No, the DIR is very specific as to, you know, what their project.
That's going to raise their assessment.
They've been approved.
Exactly. So with that being said, Mike's the one that said it. Say it a little louder, Mike. That's gonna raise their.
It's going to raise their assessment if you're fixing up
And
$600,000.
if none of that's in administration, how are they gonna pay then?
Well, if they fix it,
Be careful what you ask for.
hopefully it's a,
It'll be at the town of Seneca Falls board meeting.
hopefully it's a snowball rolling down the hill. They'll fix it up and maybe more people will come, like that movie with the baseball field and the cornfield.
Oh, my
You know,
Lord, Frank.
People will come to see it, you know?
I think they got a better chance of coming here and getting some tourism room tax.
All right, well, you gotta be more optimistic that we're gonna get more people coming here. Now, somebody, I'm reading the
thought you
minutes
weren't
or
gonna promote
something
it.
here. You're selling 58 acres of county land to somebody that, I didn't see the proposal or anything, but I read a little about it somewhere on the email that, you know, they're gonna put condos or something. They're gonna bring people to the county.
Condos. Say on Miami Beach, Frank.
Whatever they're gonna, people are gonna come to those. Maybe they'll go to the Wonderful Life Museum.
Mr. Chairman,
That's it.
I let us
Hey,
in.
listen, you gotta go
No,
talk.
I'm just saying,
what do you-
let us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Can I borrow the gavel for a couple of minutes?
No, you
I can't gavel him out?
can't. You have to talk to the chairman over.
All right.
All right,
Ask
You guys
the
heard enough?
chairman.
I hope you have.
the committee, please vote.
Any other questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed?
Opposed.
Opposed.
I think they're outnumbered, the ayes, so,
I expected
Yep.
as much.
Come for tourism, room tax money.
it's gonna go down. It went down. Okay,
What was the vote, 2-2?
3-1.
3 and
4 to 1.
4-1. 4-1.
I do a roll call.
I have, I'm sorry,
One aye.
roll call, Supervisor Reynolds,
I'm gonna go nay.
Supervisor Trout,
No.
Supervisor Garland Lorenzetti,
No.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Supervisor Ferrara,
Yes.
and Supervisor.
Okay.
No.
Yeah, I did just.
Oh.
So it's 4-1.
1 aye.
4-1.
We get a weighted vote on that?
Sweat for a second. My voice.
Okay, on to number 4, I guess. So, request proposals for the audit for financial records of Seneca County.
Motion. Second, whatever.
First-
Motion second.
First and second, my two regulars. Okay, Haley,
Yes, I'm requesting that we request proposals for the annual audit. Bonadio's 5-year contract is up at the end of this 2020 audit, and I believe Bonadio's been doing the county audit for probably 20 years, and it's prudent to at least see what else might be available out there.
Good for you.
sounds like a plan to me.
Yes.
Any other
Yeah.
questions?
Aye.
Aye, oh, aye.
We're good.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Hearing none. Okay.
If we put an amendment on that for the Wonderful Life, on that resolution?
For what? So the Bonadio?
Yeah, for Bonadeo. No?
No.
Tell them to try a friendlier committee, Frank.
I'm leaving. Good luck.
Okay,
See you, Frank. Okay.
unfinished business. Any unfinished business? Hearing none. We got new business. We did meet tonight, earlier at 4 o'clock for the American Recovery Act. And I'm supposed to report on that, and, we went down through and, got some ideas what to do with the money. And one thing we left it at was, I mean, look at the committees. I think we want Roy Gates and Bob Stuck at the next meeting to, decide what to do with the money. We're gonna sit on it right now. I think we decided that tonight. We're gonna sit on it for now. We're not gonna spend it anywhere. But we need to talk to the committees and see what I said earlier was a Christmas list. What do you guys want to do with it? So we're gonna kind of formulate, get everybody, all the committees or all the different entities of the county together, and we'll go through them all and see what their needs and wants are, and go from there. So, sewers were mentioned,
Yeah.
buildings were mentioned, we could spend $3 million 300 different ways, so.
We could spend $300 million.
Yeah, that's what we need, $303 million.
Yeah.
Just for the record, there's limitations on the spending of the money and so forth, so if any county trust or supervisor has any suggestions that maybe in your committee or something that we're not aware of, the committee is Supervisor Borst and Supervisor Reynolds and Supervisor Trout and myself. So if there's anything you think of that we may not be aware of, that would be something you could send us in an email.
Right, let us know, and I say, we gotta sort the rules and regulations out too. Haley's kind of working on that a little bit. We gotta find out what we can do and what we can't do 100%, because we don't wanna find out we gotta give it back a year down the road either. So we wanna kind of have it bulletproof before we do anything. So anyway, that was our first meeting tonight, and we'll be one before every board meeting, right, Mitch? You're kind of like, or?
I believe for now, yes.
Yeah, for now.
Committee meetings or all board meetings?
Both.
Both? Every 2 weeks?
Like an hour before.
Okay.
Yep, so, anyway, that's it for finance.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Chairman Reynolds. Next up, Personnel, Chairman Ferrara.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Vacancy Committee met tonight before our regular meeting, and we approved unanimously all these issues. So if you have any questions, we'd be more than happy to answer them. Some of the positions only need Personnel Committee approval, and no board resolution is necessary. So issue number 1, refill vacancy in the Mental Health Department. Can I have a second for that, please?
Second.
Thank you. Any questions here? This is to refill 1 full-time mental health clinic therapist. Chris is on vacation this week, so that's why he's not here to give any background. Chris, if any questions for Chris, he can answer. Okay. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Issue number 2 is refill vacancies in the Seneca County Sheriff's Office. Again, the Vacancy Committee unanimously approved the recommendations of refilling 1 full-time road patrol lieutenant and 1 full-time road patrol sergeant. Could I have a second for this, please?
Second.
Thank you. This is due to retirement. Do you have any questions for Chris on this one? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Issue number 3, refill vacancies in the Public Health Department. Could I have a second for this, please?
Second.
Thank you. Again, we met tonight on this one. We're going to refill 1 full-time Public Health Director with the impending retirement of Vicky, and refill 1 full-time Public Health Specialist. Chris, for game plan, can you share the game plan with that as far as the public health director for me, please?
Yes, sir. So with the retirement announcement, we're looking to post this position, if it gets authorized to be refilled, tonight to Indeed as well as our county portal. And then I will be pushing the posting over to all the personnel officers. We have our own email group that I'll be sending it out to see if they can push it to their current employees.
Any questions for Chris? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Issue number 4, Board of Supervisors approves the creation of filling of 1 full-time project director. Can I have a second for this, please?
Second.
Thank you. Again, the Vacancy Committee recommend moving this. This is at no cost to the county. This is part of the grant, the $1.5 million grant for that's been worked out over the years. Chris can answer any questions on this one as well. With no questions, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. And issue number 5, create a temporary position for E91 Center to cover staff shortage. Can I have a second for that, please?
Second.
Thank you. This is due to our head dispatcher. I can't think of the name. A senior dispatcher. Everything's a senior, junior. Thank you, Brandy. A senior dispatcher who is out ill, and we're shorthanded at E11, and so this is hopefully to cover the shortages and reduce the overtime for the center at the moment. And that's why it's temporary, but it might become, we might be coming back and making it full-time at some point, depending on the health issues. Any questions there? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
So carried. Issue number 6, authorize out-of-state travel to Sarah, Pennsylvania. County policy requires approval by Personnel Committee, Human Services Committee, and Board of Supervisors. Can I have a second for this, please?
Second.
Thank you. Chris, I have no idea what this one is.
Me neither.
Oh. Fire away then, Jane.
Actually, this is for me. I have custody and guardianship of adults and children in the county for various reasons. And I have currently a client that has a referral to a facility in Pennsylvania for some treatment that they're required to have.
Got it. And we transport them back and forth?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's part of their plan that we have to do that.
And is this something that's like a day in it?
Right now, it's just for one day for a consultation, but it might be longer term as well.
Got it. Okay. Any other questions? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? So carried. Is there any unfinished business for the Personnel Committee? Any new business for the Personnel Committee? Mr. Chairman, the Personnel Committee is adjourned.
Thank you very much, Chairman Farrar. Next up, Human Services, Chairman McGreevy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Issue number 1, authorize out-of-state travel to Sayre, Pennsylvania. County policy requires approval by Human Services Committee and Personnel Committee and the Board of Supervisors. Could I have a motion, please?
Motion.
Have a second?
Second.
This is the same issue we just spoke about in personnel.
Okay.
Is this something that has to be done every time you take?
Only out-of-state travel.
So with this individual, if you take them out multiple
No,
times?
because in the resolution, it says as
as
necessary.
Any other questions? Now we've had a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? So moved. Issue number 2, calling on the governor to complete the long overdue reconciliations from the Affordable Care Act Enhanced Federal Medicaid Assistance Percentage, EFMAP, and immediately release the federal funds owed to counties and New York City. Could I have a motion, please?
Support.
Have a second?
Second.
Tracy.
As many of you know, local share for the county currently is 103 plus a week in our Medicaid weekly share. We have not had any allocations since 2015 in regards to whether or not we have underspent those local share funds and we would get reimbursed for those funds. And this is what this resolution is in regards to, is having them start that process and get us the funds that we're due. If we are due, we cannot provide you really with a number of what is owed to Seneca County, or if we met our threshold or went over our threshold of local share Medicaid funds, because the state has to provide us with the total amount, and they have not released that since 2015.
Any other questions?
I have one.
Yeah.
I'm not on the committee, but
Yes, sir.
is this a resolution that's going through all the counties in the state?
Yes, a lot of the counties are pushing this through.
That's it.
Any other questions? If not, we've had a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? So moved. Thank you. Next, move on to issue number 3, appointments of Finger Lakes Workforce Investment Board members. Could I have a motion, please?
Motion.
Have a second?
Second.
Yes, sir.
Yes, this is a resolution just to reappoint with board members to serve a 3-year term that had expired. We received nominations the end of June, so we're hoping that all of these members will complete their 3-year term. If not, as you know, many times I'll come before for the unexpired term to reappoint. So, but these are the 8 members currently up right now.
Any questions? If not, we've had a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Is there any unfinished business to come before the Human Services Committee? Is there any new business? If not, this committee is adjourned. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you. Supervisor McGreevy. Next up is Planning, Development, Agriculture, and Tourism, Supervisor Barnhart.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll call the Planning, Development, Agriculture, and Tourism Committee to order. First issue in front of us tonight are appointments to the Seneca County Planning Board. Hi, Joe. Sorry, is there a motion?
Motion.
Is there a second?
He's short a couple people.
I am. Thanks, Dave. Jill.
All right, yes, just some housekeeping. We've had a recent resignation representing the town of Varick. So another name has come forth, Sally Kenyon. She's a resident of Varick, and she's served on the planning board in the past and has served to be a very good member to have on. So we're just bringing this up.
Great, thank you. Any questions from the committee? Questions from the board? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carried. Second issue in front of us is to accept funding under the Airport Rescue Grant Program in support of the Finger Lakes Regional Airport. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second, thank you. Jill?
All right, so this is under the American Rescues Plan that FAA is distributing funding out to airports. Finger Lakes Regional is eligible for $32,000, no match. What it can be used is for operating expenditures, and what we've done with some of the other funding that we've received is we reimbursement of fuel expenses, and then once that money comes back, we've been putting that money towards the purchase of the fuel truck.
Great. Any questions from the committee? Questions from the board? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carried. Third issue in front of us, to authorize the submission of consolidated funding applications for the 2021 funding cycle. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Mitch.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, I apologize for when the agenda went out last Thursday. This had a couple of blanks to be filled in. I had been consulting with both Barton and LaJudas and Hunt Engineers on a variety of opportunities on the sewer front. There were 5 potentials. There was the plant upgrades at 5 Points and Willard for 2, the I&I improvements based on the report that Hunt had filed for 2 more, and then the Hillside decommissioning as a 5th opportunity. And in talking with Hunt, BNL, and looking over our best sense of the grading criteria, it was felt that the plant upgrades would not, under WQIP, which is part of the CFA, which the deadline is Friday, would probably not score well enough to be competitive. The sense is that in September, the WIA will come out that will be better suited for. The other thing is that we're still awaiting formal feedback from docs in terms of their financial contribution and the like, so that ultimately, I mean, we could have applied, but it would have been a 1 in 100 shot. So to put all the time and effort into, I mean, these applications take some time. So then to look at the I&I, just as of this morning, the feedback from Hunt is that the I&I improvements at Sewer 2 would stand a much better chance at being funded given the amount of I&I, and I'll talk about Hillside in a minute, and then under Mr. Hayes' committee, I'll give an update on the decommissioning. But the feeling was that the Sewer 2 I&I was much more significant than the Sewer 1, and that would be the one that we would have the best chance at, and the total is a little under 900,000, about a 50-50. I don't think we have to decide tonight. I mean, if you do authorize the CFAs to be filed, I don't think we have to fine tune the source of the local match. You know, the American Recovery Act met earlier, water, sewer, and broadband are no-brainers. Haley had helped me on Friday with fund balances for Sewer 1 and Sewer 2 and any available prior borrowing, and there's a little under 400,000 in fund balance for Sewer 2. So I think between the Recovery Act source of funds and potentially some fund balance, and again, I think we'll have time, if we do get the grant award, which you probably won't know probably till December-ish on this, if you do authorize it to be filed. And then the only other one I added for your consideration is the accessibility improvements at Papa Bear. We with board authorization, we did file in 2019. We were not successful. So this would essentially be a fresh submission of the same project. Barrow Architects did help me with updated engineers' estimates. The local match is not insignificant, but given the tourism promotion and cultural affairs activities going, we certainly could look at hotel motel tax money for some, if not all of the match. Again, I don't think we have to decide tonight the specific source of the match. This could also potentially be on the American Recovery Act list. Maybe I'm just thinking, talking out loud, maybe we do half the match out of hotel motel and half out of the Recovery Act. So, out of 3.3 or 6.6 million, 50,000 is not a big number. I'm putting it out there. I think given the dual seat history of the county and the annual meeting that we do every year at Papa Bear, and probably next cycle, you could probably need to do a resolution to set the date. I know it's traditionally been in October, but they're important assets, and in compliance with the ADA at some point, I think would be a good thing, for the properties and for the county, so.
Thank you. Fully agreed. Any questions from the committee? Questions from the board? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carried. Any unfinished business for this committee? Any new business? Planning, Tourism, Agriculture, and Planning, Development, Agriculture, and Tourism Committee is adjourned.
Thank you, Chairman Barnhart. Next up, Mental Health Services, Chairman Enslow.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to call the Mental Health Services Committee to order. We have one issue under current business, and that's to accept some grant funds from New York State Office for Prevention, Domestic Violence, Safe Housing Options Grant Award of just over $54,000. Support housing options in Seneca County for domestic violence. Margaret? Oh, can I get a motion, please?
Motion.
I got a motion. Thank you.
Thanks. Margaret, I just wanted to bring to your attention a typo in the title. Gives us a lot more money. I wish we had that much, but you're welcome. Thank you for, yep. So the Mental Health Department operates a 24/7 domestic violence program. We have one full-time worker who collaborates with the victim witness assistant out of the DA's office. They run a 24/7 hotline and provide a variety of advocacy, support, counseling services, including assisting victims of domestic violence and engaging in finding safe housing when they decide to leave their abuser. This is a grant that's offered by the Office for Prevention of Domestic Violence, who funds our full-time position. It was offered to all of the OPDV programs in the state, and depending on how many of the programs said, sure, I'll take money if you're handing out money, they then divvied it up. Based on the total amount of funding that they had, the amount of agencies who replied in the affirmative that they were willing to accept funding and participate in this safe housing consortium, and also the number of services that we provided in 2020, they came up with an equation, and the amount for us was the $54,000, $54,504.05. So we would like to accept this funding and have the board's permission for the county manager to go into the grants gateway and approve all contracts in order for us to use this funding to support a variety of safe housing efforts for victims of domestic violence in Seneca County.
Thank you, Margaret. Any questions from the committee for Margaret? Any questions from the board? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you, Margaret.
Thank you.
Any unfinished business from the committee? Any new business? I have one piece of new business I'd like to talk about. I've been talking with Margaret and Mitch a little bit a while ago. I think we have, and I don't know if this will fall under the Christmas list that Mike was talking about, maybe, maybe not. I think we have an advertising or marketing problem in Seneca County with some of our programs, and I know under mental health, I think it's huge, but I'm sure some of the other departments may agree or disagree, but I'd like to see us move forward with getting some pricing and estimates on doing some billboards on the programs the county has to offer, or I thought I had is various locations across the county. You know, we got to look into what if we can get funding for it, is to maybe place some digital marking boards, the smaller ones like you see at the school and whatnot. And I'd just like to at least go down the road and see what it would cost us or if we could do it. But I think there's a lot of programs that people in the county don't know exist. I mean, I know when I first got on the board, some of these programs I had no idea until I had them on my desk here. So I think there's some opportunities that could be moved forward if we did some more advertising marketing with that. So that's just something I have. And I don't know if you have anything to add, Margaret, to that, or no? Okay. So that's all I had. Anybody else have anything?
It might be a prudent idea to take a hard look at our website as well, where probably most people go to look for programs and so forth, and a possibility we may look to, I don't know when the last time that's been done, but it might be something that we revisit as a county.
Thanks, Mike.
Yes, sir.
A lot of these fire departments have those digital boards now, and some of them have the same message scrolling 24/7, and we'd probably like to have something new to put on there. That might be an avenue for you.
Okay. Thank you. Go ahead, Margaret.
They did just rework the website. Mitch, I don't recall exactly when that was, but it was very recently, and it looks great if you've had a chance to take a look at it. It's a huge improvement. But I really want to support what Supervisor Enslow is referring to. One of the things that I'm continuously hearing when we run community forums, and when I'm out in the community providing presentations to various boards is, and I describe all of the services that we have to offer, people have no clue. All of the amazing resources that we have here in Seneca County, and I'm just speaking particularly to the mental health programs and substance abuse programs and domestic violence programs and prevention services and those sorts of things. I'm sure, I don't want to speak for my department heads, but they might parrot what I'm saying, that people don't seem to know all of the incredible things that their taxpayer dollars are supporting. So I would be certainly very happy to participate in anything that I could to help promote those services. So thank you, Supervisor Enslow, for bringing that to the board.
Thank you, Margaret. All right, I guess we're all set. Call the Mental Health Services Committee to the end. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman Enslow. Next up is Public Health Services, Chairman Borst.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll call the Public Health Services Committee to order. We have 3 issues tonight. Issue number 1 is to contract with Clean Harbor for the annual hazardous waste collection event. A motion?
Motion.
A second.
Second.
Vicki.
Sure. If you remember, a couple months ago, we came and asked for an RFP to go out for our annual household hazardous waste collection event. This year, we did receive two bids, which was good. And we are recommending that we go with Clean Harbors. We've used Clean Harbors before. Actually, both the companies that bidded, we've used them both before. They kind of go back and forth with the bid. Clean Harbors ended up to be the lower bid. We've been pleased with their services, so we'd like to go ahead and proceed to contract with them, get a date set up for that.
Any questions from the committee? Questions from the board? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Second, Board of Supervisors approves contract with New York State Department of Health for the Early Intervention Administration Grant.
Motion.
Okay, this is the Early Intervention Administration Grant. We've get this annually. It has helped with a little bit of the overhead costs of running and managing the program. And this goes from October 1st through September 30th of 2022. This grant is up $5,632 over last year's grant.
Any questions from the committee? Questions from the board? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Number 3, Board of Supervisors authorizes service agreement with Kathy Bond for consultant services. Can I get a motion?
Support.
I have a second.
Second.
Okay, Kathy Bond, as you know, contracts with us for our emergency preparedness grant. We're proposing to contract with her again also for the ELC grant for the school testing programs. This is the $1.15 million grant that we have for the school districts to set up testing programs for them in the fall. Kathy obviously writes all of our plans. She will make sure that the plans are suited, they're individualized for the school district and for what their wants are. At this point, we've said before, there are no requirements for the schools to test at this time, but we need to have the schools prepared in case something does happen. So Kathy will make sure that their plans coordinate with our plans, and she's very well known to the schools as she does a lot of the surveillance with the school districts too. And I will just put in a plug also for Kathy. Her plans are very well known across the state. When the State Health Department reviews our plans, when they have counties that are struggling, they will usually call us and ask to share our plans with them because they do credit our plans. She does a very nice planning for us.
Good. Okay. Any questions from the committee? Any questions from the board? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, passed.
Thank you.
Any unfinished business for the mental health committee, or the public health committee? Any new business? All right, we are adjourned.
Thank you, Chairman Forrest. Next up is Government Operation, Chairperson Cindy Garlick-Lorenzetti.
Thank you. Resolution providing for September 11th, 2021.
Support.
Okay, and I hope that everyone will support this, and when it comes to see us again at the full board meeting, I would, read the full resolution. Thank you. Everyone all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, carried. Is there any unfinished business for government ops? Any new business? Hearing none, thank you very much, Chairman, we're adjourned.
Okay, thank you very much, Chairman Garlick-Lorenzetti. Okay, Chairperson, excuse me. The Public Safety, Chairman Brunel is not here, it'll be Reynolds.
Thank you, Chairman Heisen. Call the Public Safety Committee together. And number 1 is purchase of a Chempro Raman 1000
Motion.
D hazmat.
Trying to help you out there, Supervisor Reynolds.
We got through it.
Motion.
Got the motion in for a second.
Any questions on what this thing really is?
Yeah, what is it? Explain it.
Okay, this is an instrument that we use to detect chemicals, powders, unknown substances. So let's say the hazmat team gets called to the jail for an envelope with an unknown powder into it. Is it anthrax? Is it baby powder? This machine will help us determine that. It shoots a little laser into it and it reads the spectrometry of the laser and tells us what's there.
Do we have one now?
We have one now that's aged out. It's no longer supported by the company, and
all right.
This is under the Hazmat 18 grant, so it's 100% refundable.
Okay.
The grant is 100%?
Yes.
Thank you.
Any other questions from anybody? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Number 2, accept FYI 21 State Homeland Security Program grant.
Motion. Second.
First and second. Anybody talking? Mitch? Or you want to do it? Okay, please do.
Yeah, Melissa Taylor regrettably could not be here tonight, but she asked me if I would point out that this grant is a a non-matching grant, and it pays for the mobile data terminals in the police cars.
Okay, thank you. Any questions?
I have one.
Oh, go ahead.
She actually regrets not being here tonight?
I'll plead the fifth on that.
All right. Tell her she needs some help. But
It's a birthday party. Give her a break.
Yeah.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Hearing none. Any unfinished business or any new business? I can't think of any, so I think we're closed, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Vice Chairman Reynolds. Next up, Public Works, Chairman Trout.
Thank you, Chairman. The first order of business will be, I move to enter into executive session pursuant to section 105(1)H of the New York State Open Meetings Law and invite all members of the Board of Supervisors, the county attorney, county manager to attend. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Okay.
Everybody's $25 an hour?
Ooh, I'm gonna get his ass.
You got a CDL? You gotta pass a drug test on hire. I'm just saying what you have to do.
The other one's out.
Yeah, drug test. You can't smoke if you've CDL. Yeah.
Oh, you just showed all your cards, Kyle.
What, you gonna have a beer after this, Jim? Oh.
They could drink with a CDL.
$100 a day on their local law number
You
6.
guys are gonna miss me.
Right?
Nobody question
Just like I
jobs.
did his sister.
It's all right.
Gonna miss me when the board starts.
Same thing would happen to her. Guess what? Got rid of him.
Everybody back that we need? Okay, reconvene the Public Works Committee. Board of Supervisors authorized sale of Keedy Road parcel tax ID hashtag 16-1-17 in the town of Lodi. Can I get a motion in a second?
Motion.
Second.
Motion made and probably seconded. We discussed at great length. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Issue 2, Lodi Point CR 136 bid results and decision. This is discussion. Mitch.
As the board may recall, back in 2019, the county had applied for and received a New York State Bridge New York grant. I wasn't directly involved at the time, but basically how these Bridge New York grants work is you get you submit an application, you indicate what your estimated cost for engineering, construction, et cetera, you submit, and then if you're awarded, it's a set amount. So if the bids come in higher than was estimated when you filed the application, anything above the estimate in the application is on the applicant, in this instance, Seneca County. Obviously, we were faced with COVID and other issues that impacting material costs and the like. So we had a bid opening about a month ago. I had sent the bid tabs out. We received 3 bids ranging from $740,565.05 to $814,151.75. Bottom line is that it is about $335,000 over the engineer's estimate when the Bridge New York application was made and awarded. And so, and Roy's here certainly to help me share information and or answer questions, but if we're gonna award this bid, which we don't have much more time to make a decision, that the county would have to come up with basically the $335,000 beyond the Bridge New York grant. Or we alternatively could ask the state DOT for an extension and look to rebid the project either this fall or over the winter and look to take another run at it next year. Couple other pieces of information to share with you. You may recall that there had been a $100,000 state SAM grant, capital grant, that was secured to look at County Road 135, the Hyson Memorial Highway, which it turned out just to do a study. You can't use capital money. You could do a study, but it has to result in construction, and that's not in the immediate future a viable option. So we talked to Senator Helming's office about repurposing that 100 to potentially to the Lodi Point project. Roy and I have talked a little bit about maybe putting some of our CHIPS allocation for this year, and we did get a little more, correct, Roy? Like maybe 200,000-ish, but you know, we could certainly look at a highway fund balance, but you know, that is that 335 grand is not a insignificant amount of money from, you know, where the estimates were when the Bridge New York was awarded. So we're gonna have to make a decision. I don't have a recommendation either way. I don't know if we rebid it if the numbers are gonna be any better, or if this is just what the new normal is for this. So, I don't, Roy, if you have anything you want to add, but other than that, I'll turn it over to the committee.
No, other than if we get an extension, I would like to go out for a rebid, because we did look at some of these prices on the stuff, and a lot of the stuff was high. I that you looked at it, it was like 20–30% higher than what the state recommended on these 3 bids.
I think that you're gonna get the support to go ahead and rebid, Kraut?
I'm not real sure that the bids would go down, but can you amend the award? You know, negotiate with the state on amending their award. You know.
The low bidder had expressed a willingness after the bid opened to negotiate on some of the items. For instance, there was a pretty big line item for rerouting / traffic control. You know, we had intended to do this after Labor Day to minimize the impact on the park and others for the tourism season. But we talked to State DOT and Stantec, and the answer we got was that we could not negotiate with the low bidder, but we could perhaps, if we're gonna get approval to rebid, that maybe we can rework the bid specs a little bit and pull a few things back, and maybe some stuff Roy and the highway department may be able to do that we would have otherwise been, you know, paying the contractor to do.
How critical is the timeline on the project?
A couple years, a year, as long as it gets done next year, as long as the money's still available, I don't know what's it.
Not a safety issue, not been cited?
It's just a narrow bridge going into Lodi Point.
Okay, I think that unless anybody has any oppositions, we'll direct Roy and county manager to ask for an extension. Thank you.
How long will it take before you go out to rebid it?
Probably October we should be able to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure that the timing was ideal. There was, the bid opening actually got extended 3 times as contractors were out looking at the site, and there was some questions about needing to go marginally onto adjoining property owners, and there was a garage that was real close to the work area, and there was some issues with trees and the like. So the ideal bidding timeline we kind of lost, so hopefully if we do something in the fall, you know, maybe the timing on the bidding would be better. We had 12 or 14 contractors ask for the bid documents, but then we only got 3 bids. So.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, everything seems to be up 30–40%, but hyperinflation isn't there. So I don't know. Well, maybe everybody else living in a different world, but it seems like in the municipal world, everything's up 30–40%. Okay, thank you. Thanks. Any unfinished business, new business? Hearing none, Public Works is adjourned.
Okay, thank you, Chairman Trout. Next up is Water and Sewer Treatment Management and Operation. Chairman Hayes.
Thank you, Chairman Heisen. I'd like to call to order the Water Sewer Treatment Management and Operations Committee meeting. First issue is Supervisors authorize intermunicipal agreement with the Village of Waterloo for administration and operation of Seneca County Water District Number 1 and Sewer Districts 1 and 2. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All those, any discussion? All those in favor?
Oh, I had a
Can we hear a little bit about this? Because this.
Yeah. All new.
Yeah.
So there's been a group of local leaders that have been meeting for some time now, looking at water and sewer infrastructure issues around the county. We have the request for qualifications out on the street for firms to respond with the deadline of August 2nd, looking at the potential for formation of a water and sewer authority here in Seneca County. And this matter that's before the board now proposes to have Seneca County and the Village of Waterloo enter into an intermunicipal agreement whereby the Village of Waterloo would take over the administration it's principally, it's Water 1, Sewer 1, and Sewer 2. It's primarily a Water 1 operation with some Sewer 1 and Sewer 2 involvement in, as everybody knows, Yaws runs the plants, but there's still some administrative oversight when repair needs to be done, authorize a PO or the like. So this recommendation in part has come out of the work of that group. I was asked to do some work on this with the village and have drafted this resolution for the committee's consideration.
What does it practically change in the operations?
Rather than county staff doing the work, it would be Village of Waterloo staff, and they, you know, are leaders in the water world, if you will. So that would be the biggest change.
Is this sort of a step into the authority, or is it just a sort of a lateral move? Or
Yeah, it's a step into it.
Probably a little of both. I mean, the jury's ultimately out on whether the Water and Sewer Authority formation will be the ultimate decision for Seneca County, but this would be an interim step to a broader, more countywide approach. And even if at the end of the day the board doesn't support the formation of an authority, I think what we're looking at here is a 5-year term for the IMA with an option for a renewal for another 5 years.
And does this take anything off of your plate administratively, and then is it cost effective? Is it a lateral cost effective move, or are there additional costs?
In terms of taking things off of my plate, maybe a little bit in the long term. In the short term, there'd be that transition period that would, dollar and cents wise, it is essentially cost neutral. Looked at the numbers, particularly with the Sewer 1 and Sewer 2, which it would be mostly coming out of Water 1 and a little bit out of Sewer 1 and Sewer 2, that there would be no need based on, I looked at the last 3 years of budget and actual numbers, and there would be nothing in this proposal that would require a rate increase for users, and probably some room to deal with maybe anything that might not be anticipated at this time if this was to go forward.
Isn't this also part of this part of your, that's on your plate of this, is something you inherited because of a position that we got rid of? This wasn't something that was gonna stay on your plate when we started this whole deal, right? The sewer. Right?
Yeah.
It's not something that was gonna be a county manager's position, right?
Yeah,
This is something
yeah.
you absorbed.
Yeah, and we've been, you know, I'm not 100% on top of it all every day. I'd be lying if I said I would, but yeah, so yeah, it was something that eventually we were gonna have to figure out.
Everybody else, when we got rid of a position, it took everybody else, all the other departments absorbed the responsibility. We had no other department to absorb this responsibility.
Correct.
So this is just basically starting to replace it. It might be a little more than we anticipated, but we have nothing else to do. We got to get it off of somebody's plate.
Can I speak?
Sure, go ahead.
So yeah, basically, that should have not been put on Mitch's plate. We got rid of the Public Works Director who was supposed to be overseeing it, and he really didn't do that part of it. And we have county staff out there, very limited, that are not doing the job. We need the village to oversee, to make sure that the biggest thing is that the drinking water is safe. And they've kind of been doing it anyway, but this kind of will seal the deal. And who asked, is it paving the way for a water authority? It's certainly gonna look in that direction, for sure.
Who's gonna boss the employees we have there now?
I think you have an employee that doesn't need any supervision because he works his butt off and knows what he's doing, okay? And he, as far as the rest, yeah, I get it, yeah. To be determined.
How about the bookkeeping that, do we still do the bookkeeping, the finances?
Pardon me? Do the bookkeep? No, I think the administration, that would be part of what they would take over, correct?
That's a good question.
Well, they're gonna be operating and managing it. So operations and management is
extent of
gonna
the
have to still be
IMA, yeah.
finance. Somebody's gonna have to, I mean, if you're gonna operate, you're gonna have to know the finance, you have to do the finances too. It's not
I
a,
think then you need to clarify that. Taylor, what do you interpret this to be? You pick the books up and give them to Waterloo?
If that's what the board chooses we deem to do, that's what we'll do.
All for $100,000 a year?
Is that part of the negotiations, Mitch?
Yeah, the finance department at no expense to the districts gets the meter readings, the quarterly meter readings, and enters it into the software, issues the bills, collects the payments when they come in, et cetera. Have talked to the Village of Waterloo about, because I believe they use the same software that we use, whether that would be better for them to just do the billing there. I think at this point, my sense is that we would still do the billing and collect here. And, they would, run the meters. It goes through some software through IT and then comes over to finance. So my sense is that we would continue to do the billing and the collection here.
And the budgets?
Yeah, and we would do the budgets as a part of our annual budgeting here as well. Yep.
So Waterloo won't have any say on their budget?
No.
You can't make recommendations to spend more money?
No, absolutely not.
Mitch, as the administrator, do you feel good about this? Do you feel this is a good move?
I will do whatever the board directs me to do.
No, I mean, you're the man with the expertise in the room, so I was valuing your opinion.
I'm confident we could make it work in the best interests of the districts.
It says, a municipal agreement for the administration and operation of the county water districts 1 and sewer districts 1 and 2. So you would think that would, include the administration.
Supervision.
Yeah. Supervision and billing.
Administration.
Yeah. Just food for thought. Well, the consolidation we can do, the better.
And if this does pass committee tonight, this is not one of the items on for the special meeting tonight. So, if this does clear the committee tonight, we would have a couple weeks going into August 10th to take a closer look at the language, and we still would have to craft the actual IMA. I'm gonna have to get with Dave on that if this does move forward to get that language in and make sure everything is tight.
Dave, what do you think?
Myself, I don't know the exact language that myself either. So I haven't been involved in any of the negotiations with this. So where it sets, I don't know.
Maybe we can move it forward and then dig a little deeper on the IMA.
Well, I definitely want to dig deeper on the IMA because I don't know really what this says. What is going to happen with the
so they can get that guy.
the supervision, the operation and management is, to me, O&M is, right? They should be doing all the maintenance, we shouldn't be having we shouldn't have anybody in it then. If they're gonna do the maintenance, then they do the maintenance, right? That's what O&M is, right? Operations and maintenance, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, if anybody who has a water district or a sewer district knows that if you have O&M, your people do it unless you contract it out to have somebody else do it. So
right.
We're gonna contract it out, I guess, looks like.
Yeah.
As far as I can see. But I don't know particulars, so.
Dave?
Yeah.
there's a conversation that needs to happen with Jim Bromka over somebody that's been working with him for quite a while. And there is a benefit here that goes with Water and Sewer Authority, and the person that they would like to hire, because of the constrictions of unions and job titles in the county, Waterloo is a little bit looser on what they're able to accomplish. So if you get a hold of Jim Bromka, and maybe we could have him come here and talk about the talented individual that they're looking to hire that basically would be working on this specifically, I think would answer a lot of questions about what's going on right now through subbing this out through Waterloo.
Okay. So maybe we should just table it and do another committee. Bring it back in front of the committee before we do this in August. Don't set up something for August. I don't have enough information myself. I mean, I would vote this down. Well, I don't know anything about it.
Do we need this to enter into the IMA negotiations, or can we
Well, if
do
we're
that?
gonna talk to Jim Gromka in front of the meeting, a committee, we gotta do it on a committee meeting night and not on a board meeting.
Sure.
You know, I would rather do it during a committee meeting so we can ask.
Have a special committee meeting if you wanted to.
Before the next board.
We used to have that when we first started out.
Yeah, I
Little extra work,
hate
Mike.
to delay the matter and, put in jeopardy
You don't want to lose
the
the guy.
position, correct?
We-
So we
Dave,
could
we
have,
talked about that? The guy?
Push it out of committee.
Yeah, I would support moving it out of committee and getting further detail.
You can just table it at the regular board level if you need more time.
but I do believe that having Jim Bromka come in and present is good, and that there probably could be an executive session about a couple issues here too.
Well, I mean, or just call Jim,
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'll be voting no, because I need more information.
All right, why don't you just call the vote?
All right, all those in favor to move it out?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Opposed?
No.
Do roll call.
That's 3-2.
All right. Let's see. Chairman, or Supervisor Borsch. Opposed? Opposed. Supervisor Garlic Lorenzetti.
Yay.
Supervisor Barnhart.
Yay.
Supervisor Heisen.
Nay.
Chairman Hayes says nay.
I vote.
3-2.
3 nays. I don't know, I thought you were educator.
Administrator, not a math
Ooh.
teacher.
3-2, so. I guess it's not
In
going up.
Seneca Falls, it's a tie vote,
That's
3-2. Mike didn't win them any more.
Okay, so I guess it's not going up. All right, next issue is gonna be the updates. We need some updates from Mitch on sewer districts 1 and 2.
Main update I have is that last Thursday, the phase 1 of the decommissioning of the Hillside plant commenced. I think I had sent an email out to everybody. Immediately prior to the starting to cut the inflow and outflow pipes, there was about 70,000 gallons a day, all INI, because all the Hillside properties first light all the buildings are off the system, but there was still 70,000 gallons a day going into the plant. As of this morning, I talked to Dan Duddleston, and the flow is down to a little under 3,000 gallons. There's one manhole that's been identified as the final source, and the plan is that final few thousand gallons will be remedied, and then the Yaws is planning to shut the plant down on Sunday, August the 1st. And then we'll have to discuss at a future meeting what the right next phase of the decommissioning is, how we're gonna go about it, to what extent we're gonna try to do it in-house, whether we're gonna look to use some fund balance or some borrowing. Obviously, there was the item with the INI grant that the planning committee approved earlier tonight, so we're gonna have to look at, at the funding overall, but, mission almost accomplished with, ending the flow. Dan told me they talked to Don Cardinal at the DEC earlier today, and he's good with where we're at to date. And we're still gonna have to finalize negotiations with Yaws on at what point we will terminate the contract. There's similar to when 318 went live and the town of Junius plant was decommissioned, there was still a period of time that, monthly reporting and inspections needed to be done, but we should be on track to finish our contractual work with Yaws on Hillside this calendar year, which we budgeted money for the Hillside contract with Yaws for this year. So probably maybe October, November, I've got to work with Dave a little bit on finalizing the discussion/negotiations with Yaws on how to fairly and equitably terminate that part of it's one contract for 3 plants, so it's not like we're terminating a contract, we're amending the contract. So so that again was the main thing. I mentioned at an earlier committee tonight that we're still awaiting word from docs on the letter that Chairman Heisen sent, a few months back, looking for their feedback on their financial contribution and the like. I think I probably ought to reach out to Mr. Greppo, our contact, in the next few days and see if there's anything new, because if that WIA grant comes out in the next month or so, that probably an opportunity we don't want to miss. So I did not. So I think more to come on that. I'm not aware of any, and I'm not an engineer, I'm not aware of any puddling or ponding or anything going on. So whether it's sitting in the pipes, yeah, and perhaps all the more reason to focus on the INI grant to take care of that, if we're successful with that grant. Which I got to get going on that because the deadline's Friday. If the board passes it at the special meeting, I'll be doing that, yeah, so.
So you need INI for that sewer system up there at Hillside, even though the sewer plant shut down?
Well, I think it's part of the whole network on the campus, yeah. So.
Okay.
Right.
Thank you.
Good.
Any new business? Unfinished business? Committee adjourned.
Okay. Thank you, Chairman Hayes. Okay, one more committee meeting to go. That would be Indian Affairs.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I would like to speak.
Yep. A little while ago, I'd like to call this Indian Affairs Committee meeting to order. A little while ago, I met with 4 members of the Citizens Committee for Indian Affairs. The 4 of them asked, because Mr. Halftown had written a letter to the editor in the Finger Lakes Times asking for a meeting with the supervisors and himself. They would like to see that meeting take place. So that's what I'm bringing back to the board. You can go to the committee first if you want, and then we can move it the whole board sometime, but they would like to see that meeting so we can try to move this thing forward where we're going to go with taxes and services offered for Indian-owned properties. Any questions from the?
I have a question. I'm sorry, I didn't quite hear. So you met with 4 of the members of the Citizens Advisory Committee after we had already had our board meeting, and after?
Just a little while ago.
Okay. And after the letter to the editor that Mr. Halftown wrote, and they have asked that those 4 members, because he called out the certain members, right? It's not the Indian advisor, it's not our committee, correct?
he asked Halftown asked the supervisor to meet with him to find a path to go forward, is the way I understand it.
I think unless I read the letter wrong, it was the 4 supervisors that voted not to go into executive session. No?
I don't know if that was the case, but if that was, I wouldn't agree to that anyway.
That's not the way I read it.
Okay, that's fine. That's why I'm asking.
When was this letter?
The letter was a couple days after the meeting.
Oh, I don't get
It was
the,
letter to the editor.
I don't get the paper. I'm on a fixed income.
Well, you can get it, Margaret can get it for you.
I'm sorry?
Margaret can get you the Finger Lakes Times.
And the county pays for it?
Yep.
Really?
Yeah.
Online. It's online.
Mike, we have a login on
You will
the,
have the password at some point. I can give you the password before you leave again.
you gotta print out the
I would
article.
be embarrassed, but no thank you for offering though. They deliver all the way on Barrack, huh?
No, it's electronic.
You get the online version.
Look it up online.
You can access it online.
Educator? Oh, no. Your committee, may I? Okay, sure. Mr. Lott, I'd support that moving forward, except my recommendation would be to bring all the players to the table, more than just the supervisors. Bring the state of New York, bring the federal government, Board of Supervisors. Probably want to include Cayuga County as well. If the end result, if the goal of any meeting is to come to a negotiated settlement to put all of our issues to bed, then I think you have to include all of the stakeholders. If we want to reimburse.
It's too complicated. This is just a starting block.
That's fine. I'm just saying, if you want to get your money, if we want to get our tax money reimbursed, that's a state issue. If we want to solve the reservation and the fee land status, that's a federal issue. Cayuga County and Seneca County share pretty similar circumstances, so I would think that their board or their chairman would be interested as well. So I'm
We're already talking with Clint Halftown.
I'm just making a recommendation.
Aware of that?
I'm not.
All your research last.
Who's already talking to them?
What?
Who did you say was already talking to them?
Clint Halftown talks to the Cayuga Indians, Cayuga County.
That's okay. No, that didn't come up in my
He pays them money, we don't know how much.
very detailed research, but that would just be my recommendation, to bring all the stakeholders together. At some point, maybe not initially.
Yeah, maybe an initial meeting and then at some point a recommendation that we move forward. I would support that 100% as far as initial meeting.
Do we need a motion to come from the committee to do this, or can we just have county manager or the attorney set up a meeting?
Yeah. I don't think you need a recommendation and then, right?
Some Indian food.
So you're saying you want to invite Mr. Halftown?
Yep.
To this county, into the county board?
Oh.
That'd be an executive session, or that be open to the public, but we have to find that out first.
You know, I agree.
Mr. Barnhart will tell us what.
Yeah, I agree with Mr. Barnhart, but I think maybe we need to do a preliminary meeting to sort of get the groundwork set up, what we're going to discuss and who's going to all be there.
Yeah, I mean, I would say negotiations could certainly be handled by lawyers, or not necessarily in public session.
Yeah, because you'll have 450 of them.
Yeah, I mean, that's obvious.
Whatever. So what's the pleasure of the Indian Affairs Committee?
I'd have an open session.
I would too.
I would have it.
I'd have
That's
it in
the
open
one time
session.
you should. That way nobody can say that this person said this person
Exactly.
said this.
You were all-
Have somebody take minutes, for God's sakes. That way you can hold people accountable for their words.
I totally agree.
Jesus,
with you.
this is when you should do it.
Yep.
Well, why don't we invite them up here to the next board meeting in, what's that, 2 weeks? Meet at 5:30. Mr.
Yeah.
Halftown, show up.
Everybody's okay with it?
Yeah.
Okay.
A board meeting night or a separate night?
Board meeting night.
Board meeting night.
Can we talk about the practicalities of this for a moment?
You could have an open
Wait,
floor.
you weren't on the committee. This is, right now, we're into the.
All right, so let's
Indian
take it.
Affairs Committee.
What's the Indian Affairs Committee want to do? You want to have a huge meeting? You want to have a small meeting? What's the pleasure? Who's all in Indian Affairs?
I'm not on any affairs.
I am.
All right. Paul.
I think we
Diane?
invite them to
remember.
a board meeting.
neither.
We can
Yeah, you're on.
speak at the open mic.
Okay. Cindy?
Ask
I'm
everyone.
not on it. Mike, you're on it. Mike,
I
you're
can't believe
on
it,
it.
Ralph.
Who's on
Who are the people that you met with?
I support an open meeting. I'm on the committee.
Who are the people
On a board
that you
night?
met with that suggested
On
this?
a board night.
So the people that got.
Start the board meeting at 5:30.
Rich, Ricky.
Rick Ricky
Ross
was
Park.
not there. He was the one that wasn't there. It was the other
Ross
four.
Park,
Russ Park,
Russ Wheeler.
Shipley.
Shipley.
Yep, they were the four. And they said they had the support of Rich Ricky to do it too. So all five of them want to go forward with a meeting.
Mr. Chairman, I would suggest that you possibly have, reach out to Mr. Halftown and ask him what are some things he wants to discuss, so that we have a little bit of a pre-warning. And also with the advisory committee, same thing. What are some things they'd like to discuss? So it is not a free-for-all, and there's some structure to it.
Okay.
Agenda, need an agenda.
With the whole board, and I don't think Cindy's here in 2 weeks. I think she's ill.
Well, I'm worried when I'm going to be here, when I'm not going to be here. So I don't want to say we're going to have a meeting at a certain time yet until I see, because I've got to be on some trips.
Okay.
So.
Open session if we're having a meeting, for sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay.
We might remind Mr. Halftown that years ago, he was trying to evict everybody from their property. You know, he says we keep losing and losing. He lost that. That was the big one. It was latches, I think, like the Bryant said, was a 3-day hearing in some federal court that latches took.
You like Bob Seger?
Mr. Lott.
You like Bob Seger and the Silver Bullet
Can I
Man?
say something?
Go ahead.
Yeah, my favorite.
I will, whenever they.
Kyle has the floor.
I just want to, I appreciate that my words are being turned on me for open session from just 2 weeks ago, but I have serious, and I beg for your forgiveness before I say this, I have serious concerns about some of your behavior if we're going to question Mr. Halftown in open session. I think there's significant liability for this board and the things that some of you are liable to say. If you are seriously intent on moving a negotiation forward, let's do it in good faith. Let's meet with him, establish a list of demands from both sides, and work towards them. I fear that if he comes up before this board, I think some of y'all are going to say some rotten things to him. And
So
I
what
think
about when he says rotten things to us, though? That's okay? I mean, yeah, the rules have to go for both sides.
Yeah, that's right. And
Yeah.
I think there's bound to be some initial hostility between both sides because of the 40 years of hostility. And I expect that y'all are going to have to get that out of your systems. I'm just trying to protect you from the embarrassment.
That's what I recommended
We have
some
a few
parameters.
years of experience here, Kyle, doing this, like 20, 30 years. You've been doing it for a little over a year. We had the Unity Council sitting out here. We used to have a table here. And we brought the Unity Council in here in a public session, open session, and we talked to them. We don't have any problems.
Okay, just
How
about
sharing my concerns.
How about if it's all right with Mitch, him and I will sit down, we'll set up something, and we'll let people know what we decide, okay?
Perfect.
That'd be fine. If Halftown wants to meet in a private session, we could do that.
We'll explore that. All right, thank you.
I'd like to know who you're referring to. That's what I'd like to know.
I think
Can we take a roll call
we
on
all
that?
know.
I'll be frank. I spoke to somebody at New York State in the bureau that handles the Indian matters. And he referenced a couple of other negotiations, I believe the Oneidas and the Mohawks. And he basically said, if you're serious about negotiating, it's a decades-long process. And the first 4 years are going to be spent spit and fire at each other because that's just how it goes. So again, my fear was that in public, it's just going to look really ugly if we're just literally yelling at each other for a 3 or 4 hour Board of Supervisors session. I thought we might make a little bit more progress diligently around the table, but if you guys want to do the thing, then do the thing.
Well, this isn't a negotiated session, a settlement. This is Clint Halftown saying in the paper that he wants to speak. Come on, we're going to speak. That's all we're doing, we're talking.
Okay.
Not
We
negotiating.
negotiated one before. It's not like we haven't done it before. It's not a big deal.
Kyle, don't you want it on the public record if he just wants to come in here and be like, haha, I won. I don't have to pay you anything. And I'm not going to, and I don't intend to. Shouldn't that be on the record? That way people can see that. Or if he's being very reasonable, like he said in the paper, everybody can see that he's being very reasonable. And then we will be very reasonable. But if it turns into the exact thing that you think that the board might do, he's going to do, it should be part of the public record.
Fair enough.
All right, any other discussion?
Good job.
Any other items for the Indian Affairs Committee? If not, this meeting's closed.
Okay, good, thank you. Next up is a special board meeting, right? We're all ready for that. You don't need a recess or anything?
No.
We're all running hot. We're ready, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Put the camera still on, right? Nope. Good evening, everybody. This is now the time for the Seneca County Board of Supervisors special board meeting and a public hearing for this evening. And start off with a roll call by the members by the clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Supervisor Reynolds?
Here.
Supervisor Garlick Lorenzetti?
Here.
Supervisor Brownell? Supervisor Barnhart?
Here.
Supervisor Borst?
Here.
Supervisor Hayes?
Here.
Supervisor Ferrara?
Here.
Supervisor Cronenwetter?
Here.
Supervisor Lott?
Here.
Supervisor McGreevy?
Here.
Supervisor Heisen?
Here.
Supervisor Trout?
Here.
Supervisor Clear?
Here.
Supervisor Enslow?
Here.
You have a quorum, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag.
United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, please be seated. Okay, we have a public hearing to start off. To receive comments on proposed local law F of 2021 as follows. A local law updating operations and authority of the Seneca County Code Enforcement Unit for the administration and enforcement of the New York State Uniform Fire Prevention and Building Code and the State Energy Conservation Construction Code in the County of Seneca, and repealing all prior local laws related thereto, certain section of Local 3 of 2021, establishing the operations and authority of the Seneca County Code Enforcement Office. Require proof that the real property is not subject to any lien for a delinquent tax. Local Law F proposes to eliminate the section in the local law that requires said proof requirement related to delinquent tax.
Make a motion, we enter in the public hearing, Mr. Chairman.
A second, okay. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Carried. Anybody opposed? Okay, we're now in the public hearing. Anybody want to comment or address this board on this changing of the law?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion, we close the public hearing.
Second.
A second, okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the public hearing is now closed. Next up, presentations. Petitioners. Rachel V. Ruth, resident of Lodi, regarding purchase proposal of the Keedy Road parcel. Welcome.
Thank you, Chairperson and board members. I was glad to see that the Public Works Committee approved, voted to pass the resolution for the sale of the Keedy Road parcel. Some of you may know that my family has, Rachel V. Ruth, 9216 Keedy Road. And my family, both the extended family and my husband and I own property right on Keedy Road. And we've been following this matter with great interest since March. But we're here tonight, my husband and I, to respectfully request two things. One is we don't understand the need for haste to vote tonight in the full board on the resolution that just came out of committee tonight. If there wasn't a special session, it would be voted on at the regular August meeting. And so we're here to very respectfully ask that you postpone the full board vote on this resolution until the August meeting, so that more details about it can be shared with the public. And our second request is that these specifics, in this case, most likely of the deed restrictions mentioned but not spelled out in the resolution, be shared with the public before a vote. I want to add something that I omitted from my letter to the board when I made these requests, and that is that my husband, my sister, and I, we saw and we appreciate and we thank the board for taking into consideration the various concerns raised by us and our Lodi neighbors in working, they're mentioned in the section in the resolution on the deed restrictions. So we do see that. We do feel that we have been heard. But we want to know more. I hope you understand our concerns that after 33 years of coming to Katy Road, where the most activity comes from moving cows around and from once a year, the lovely strains of the Pickin' in the Pasture Festival, that this is a big change for Katy Road and Parmenter roads. Although not everybody writes to the board and not everybody comes to these board meetings, the people who live there for a reason and they care. In the spring, I had several much appreciated conversations with the county manager about this whole process, and about a month ago, we received one call from the county lawyer to confirm a point of fact. So, but like the rest of the general public, we don't know some of the central details of the proposed sale that I believe are things that could be made public. For example, how many vacation rental units are proposed? How is the road access limited to that parcel? It says it's going to be limited, but is it, to 4 driveways or 12 driveways? I don't know. How many years are agreed in the deed restriction until the 5-acre parcels can be sold? Seems like that could be public knowledge. Is it 1? Is it 10? Is the conservation easement in the deed restriction permanent? Or is it just for a little while? It isn't spelled out. We certainly hope that the board already has these details in hand before any vote happens, but we ask that these and other points that affect residents in the area be clarified publicly, and perhaps that could even start tonight in the discussion of the resolution that you may have tonight, whether or not you agree to postpone the vote. And which, again, we most respectfully ask the board to discuss the matter, but postpone the full vote on the Katy Road sale to the next regularly scheduled meeting of the board in August. And this is not because we are against the sale, but in the interest of an open process that gives the residents of Seneca County, and most particularly of the town of Lodi, the most information and the most opportunity to engage in this process. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Okay, next up, open privilege of the floor. Would anybody like to address the board? If you like to, at this time you may. And Paul, you can address the board too.
Could Mr. Ettman answer those 3 questions right now?
Well, I can address a couple of them, I mean, if you may. With due respect, part of the FOIL, Freedom of Information Law, the Open Meetings Law, addresses that certain negotiations for the actual sale of the property are generally conducted in an executive session. I think what we're in a position to do, and the contract that we have at this time that's been drafted, and we will make certain facts available in the discussion coming up, is that we had the 5 proposals, and that this one was by far the most financially suitable, and on the upfront side, the most conservation oriented, as I believe is discussed. And this is not the first open discussion of the proposals within the, should say not the first discussion among the board. We can define some of the terms. What we have is your permission to complete a contract of sale, so that we have fully agreed that this is the proposal we want, but we still have certain points to negotiate, and so the final authorization would occur once we, because they have the same out in the contract that we would sign, that you're basically saying, and that we would like, is that if we're not happy with the terms that we want to negotiate, they can back out of the deal, or we can back out of the deal. So you'll have one more bite at the apple with the final terms of the contract and terms of the easements, et cetera. The easements, the restrictions, They could subdivide it sooner than, I mean, the 5-acre subdivision that we've talked about could happen fairly quickly if they felt that it was important for their financial, I mean, this is a financial vehicle as well, and there's no real estate development done anywhere now of a commercial or tourist nature that doesn't have certain tax implications or finance and structure complications. So they might be better for them to have 5-acre parcels owned as independent properties and not all on the same property for their purposes for financial reasons. But the restrictions on access, et cetera, would continue. Our points of discussion have been for access on the road. Right now we're at 2 on each of the 2 roads for their development, and their initial development basically involves a northeast. They're talking, was it 3 and 5 or 4? Basically 8 initial development, tiny homes or camping type settings, separated, trying to take advantage of it, and we did, as discussed in the resolution, have about a 50% or 25-acre conservation easement that would have extremely limited development. We talked about trails, some trail shelters, and some support storage for mowers or things like that they might want to have. So what this does is, with the board's blessing, allows us to now go full ahead and make the final negotiations on the contract with them. And then once we have the actual, either it may be number of square foot of development, it may be number of structures development. That was what we were talking about with them, but we haven't come up to a final position, and that would come back to the board for final authorization to actually sell.
Mr. Redmond, what's the length on the conservation easement?
As far as what we're looking at a permanent conservation easement. That's our intent. I mean, they may come back with 99 years or something like, I don't know, we'll talk. But our working concept here was, because they initially proposed it, was essentially a permanent conservation. And again, given its location next to the Forest Service lands and that concept, that made perfect sense to do it that way.
Do you recall how many ingresses, egresses, driveways?
As I indicated, right now our discussions are 2 on each of the 2 roads.
Sorry.
So all of the idea, and I'll just say we did this, the point of discussion was pointed out in some of the communications that we received from neighbors and other folks, was that drainage culverts, like on the roads, as we learned in 2018, culverts are a weak spot in drainage with debris. We wanted to try and limit the number of culverts that were involved in the area, and also because of the traffic, some of the blind spots, some of the hidden areas, we wanted again to try and limit. It's much easier when you put up a sign that says driveway entrance and you only have 1, as opposed to driveway entrances and you've got 5 or 6. We're trying to minimize the impact on traffic. Those parts have generally been agreed with the buyer. It's some of the fine points as they indicate the actual number, expansion capability, and as we've also discussed with them, it's a significant requirement. They have to be able to comply strictly with septic, percolation, et cetera. They have to be able to provide appropriate water for their sites, and it is arguably unlikely for an extended period of time that there would be any type of municipal services in that area. Yes, you can laugh, please, go right ahead. Let's just use the term highly unlikely, and that obviously the land has to support the development, and that's a critical factor. Okay?
That's so clear.
Lord, my wife would be proud if I made it that clear. So thank you.
Thank you, Dave.
Okay, anybody else want to use open privilege of the floor? Okay, any more? Next up, approval of meeting minutes. Are there any minutes to approve?
Not until the regular meeting. Same with communication, regular meeting.
Reports of standing committees, I guess we just had them, so I guess we don't have anything to report unless somebody wants to report, like on IDA, probably nothing.
Not yet.
Cooperative extension, soil and water. Okay. I have no chairman's remarks. County manager remarks.
Just one thing, Mr. Chairman. Want to give a quick update on Sampson Veterans Memorial Cemetery status. We had a visit from New York State Office of General Services, OGS, at the site today to inspect the premises in part. They're going to do an updated seeker related to the transition. I didn't get a chance to share this with you, Dave. I'll give you full details in the morning. And to assess the buildings. The state employee was very impressed with the site and the premise. I don't anticipate any issues with a seeker. The state has taken the position that it's a type 1 action, so you got to go through the whole long form and everything. I've got a couple things that I'm going to provide to the state regarding some of the preliminary conditions assessments on the steam plant, because it's not in real good shape. And but all in all, it went good. Still not an exact clear date on transition to the state, but things continue to move forward. So just wanted to share that with the board.
Very good. Thank you. County Attorney remark.
I have nothing for tonight.
Okay. Communications.
Not until the regular meeting, sir.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Next up, resolutions and motions. Public Works, number 15, Supervisor Trout.
Board of Supervisors authorizes sale of Keedy Road parcel tax ID number 16-1-17 in the town of Lodi.
Or second on that? Okay, any discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing no nays, motion is passed, adopted. Okay, thank you. That's 15. Now number 16, Public Works, Supervisor Trout.
A resolution to adopt Local Law 6, 2021, updating operations and authority of the Seneca County Code Enforcement Unit for the administration and enforcement of the New York State Uniform Fire Prevention and Building Code and the State Energy Conservation Construction Code in the County of Seneca, and repealing all prior local laws related thereto.
Support. Second on that. Okay, any discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, Supervisor Trout. Next up, Public Safety. Supervisor Brunel's not here, so I guess Mr. Supervisor Reynolds.
Well, I lost my page. Accept FY21 State Homeland Security Program grant.
Support.
Good. Second on that, okay. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you, Supervisor Reynolds. Next up is Supervisor Ferrara, number 18.
Authorize the creation and filling of one temporary position for full-time senior dispatcher for E91 Center.
Support. Seconds all over the place, okay. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you, Supervisor Ferrara. Number 19, Supervisor Boris, Public Health Services.
Board of Supervisors authorizes service agreement with Kathy Bond for consulting services.
Support.
Second, okay. Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye. Opposed.
Got one nay. Okay.
Supervisor Hayes?
What?
I'm asking who said nay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Motion is carried. One nay is noted. Okay, thank you, Supervisor Boris. Next up, Supervisor Barnhart, Planning, Development, Agriculture, and Tourism, number 20.
Supervisors authorize submission of consolidated funding application, CFA, for the 2021 funding cycle.
Support.
Second there. Okay, any discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. You go to work, Mitch.
We'll get it done.
Get her done.
Any unfinished business?
We'll see you Friday.
I'll be
What?
there.
Any new business? Okay. special
Mr.
order.
Chairman, if I could?
Yes.
Just quickly. Supervisor Lott, with this meeting that you're going to set up, the only thing I ask is that you guys really think about, this has been going on for such a long time that maybe a regular board meeting may not be the best night, maybe a special meeting, just a suggestion. Because after all, I mean, 41 years of all this, I think we could give them a little more than trying to jam it into a meeting that always never goes on time. Just a suggestion. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Can I also add to that? So it has been a long time, and I kind of agree maybe a different night than a board night, but I don't know if anybody's interested, but I pulled it up, what was in the paper, just for those who might not have been able to see it. I'd like you to be able to hear it. Okay. Days later, a scathing statement from Cayuga Nation Representative Clint Halftown, who decried Seneca County's process as the definition of insanity. Albert Einstein said definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over, expecting different results. After listening to the Seneca County Board of Supervisors discuss the Cayuga Nation at the end of its July 13th meeting, it appears sadly and predictably that a majority of the county's town supervisors are intent on serving as living examples of Mr. Einstein's definition. Halftown began. The U.S. Supreme Court recently threw out Seneca County's latest attempt to tax properties owned by the nation. They didn't throw it out, they didn't want to hear it. So that's different. This came after the federal government also denied a land into trust application. After the U.S. Supreme Court threw out Seneca County's latest attempt to tax Cayuga Nation property last month, exposing the county's decades-long legal strategy for the fantasy it is, most members of the board still believe that they can sue the nation and its reservation out of existence, Halftown continued. It is hard to admit you were wrong, especially when being wrong means you have spent millions of dollars in taxpayers' funds chasing taxes you will never collect. That dynamic likely explains why most board members wanted to discuss their strategy about the Cayuga Nation in executive session. Better to vent their frustration behind the closed doors, where racist references to Native Americans as marauders and thugs, I was in the executive session, I don't remember those words being used, can be kept from the public's ears, and where lawyers can privately explain that the board is out of options, sparing supervisors the embarrassment of having their foolish legal strategy and waste of public assets exposed. I don't know if they were far off, because you know what? The state paid for some of it. So there must have been other people besides this county board that thought it was worth the fight. He applauded the supervisors who thought a new approach would be better. The nation applauds those supervisors who were honest enough to call the county's antagonistic strategy the failure that it is. These supervisors could learn from the nation's experience starting 20 years ago and convince the county that it is time for a new plan. The nation will not hold its breath waiting for the county to change its course, but it will welcome positive relations if reasonable voices prevail, Halftown concluded. Less than a week after that session, it became clear that the nation intended to continue on its land purchasing path, buying a longtime restaurant that sits on the Lower Lake Road in Seneca Falls. So, for all of you that might not have seen that, you can Google it, it's there.
Okay. Anybody else under new business? Okay. Special order of the day.
So moved.
Second. All those in favor?
Anybody want to join me at the Deer Head for a beer or anything?
Yeah.
Oh, you have to roll a fat one down there.
Oh, you can't say that.
What's that?
You gotta roll a fat one down there. That's gonna be there. Marijuana distribution.
Did we move out? Did we vote?
Yes, we did.
You're done.
Aye.